Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with Morsels of a Thought, number 1647 for you today. We are reading Henning Morales' novel, a Highwayman edition of The Dirt Merchants. It is a coming-of-age adventure, a triumph, and a true story. And we are on page 166. Okay. After the card game Saturday, Spencer had snuck, quote, $500 out of his all-nighter money, hoping Rose wouldn't notice. She didn't. Rose never went into the pit and never witnessed the card game, so she didn't even know who won or how much. With all the hoopla of Spencer's breaking the record, Jim didn't pay much attention to the deposit either. Rose was more than satisfied with the $675 Spencer handed to her, more than ever before, more than ever before a single day. More than ever before for a single day. Earmarked for the dime savings bank account of Spencer Corrales. On his way into Lodi on that following Monday, he stopped by the seller's house in Hasbrook Heights, where Ray was waiting, and negotiated the price down to $500, including a tow to Ray's garage in Patterson. Since setting the record, Spencer fell into a steady flow of productive days and lucrative all-nighters. But while he was having more and more success in the field, he wasn't getting any closer to having his own office. Kenny and Gino had been promoted, but Curry still had to be promoted out before Spencer, and that looked like it was going to be a few months away. Kenny's office is only down the block. Doesn't make sense, Jimbo. Now we're competing for trainees and talent. What the hell is going on here? We should be expanding our territory. Upstate New York, Connecticut, wherever, Spencer said matter-of-factly over a 10 o'clock dinner at the Saint's Cafe. Spencer wore one of 3 custom-made suits he'd purchased for his office training. He learned from Jim and the other owners that it was better to have 2 or 3 great suits than 10 cheap ones. I know, you're pretty sharp for a high school dropout boy, Jim said quickly, smiling and winking. The 2 women at the table, Mary and Veronica, both knockouts, were off in their own conversation. We just signed the lease on that new space in Westchester for Kenny. Once we get him moved in, we start planning to get Cuddy out, and then we'll get you back in the office and start preparing. Toast! Spencer barely noticed that Jim was talking and moving faster than usual. The foursome toasted and finished their steaks and then dessert at the high-end bistro. A year earlier, Spencer and his friends were relegated to peering in the window as they drove by to get a glimpse of the rich and beautiful young people inside. Spencer was so concerned with the business that it hardly fazed him that over the past few weeks, he'd been a regular at some of the trendiest and most expensive restaurants in Bergen County and Atlantic City, all paid for by the obscene profit margins of American wholesalers, Amex bill signed by his mentor, Jim Braun, Braun. He also hardly noticed that at 18 years old, he never had to bring into play his fake ID to pass for 21. Attitude, dress, and the company he kept made it unnecessary. He had started seeing less and less of Sharon. Her mom was always hanging around her room, and she was hardly allowed out. Ever since office training started, he'd been dating friends of Jim's girlfriend who were older and, for the most part, skinny, stunning model types around 25. Spencer's face was youthful, but there was an air of maturity in the way he carried himself. The age issue never came up with these women, and Jim never talked about it when they were around. I guess beautiful women like good-looking young guys with confidence and cash. Go figure. The valet pulled up in the shiny black Jag, Jaguar. The 4 of them went back to Jim's condo at the Glen Point and spent several hours listening to jazz and chit-chatting about this and that. Jim and Mary disappeared upstairs. Spencer flirted with Veronica, a cheerful 26-year-old, 5'10" stick figure model trying to stay awake. An hour later, Jim came downstairs, clothes disheveled, his eyes a little bloodshot and wired a bit. He threw Spencer some keys. Hey, stud, can you take Veronica home and take the Jag tonight? Come get me in the morning, Jim said. His usually deep voice was raspier than usual. Spencer pulled Jim aside with his arm around Jim's shoulder and began to whisper, "The van's here, man, and tomorrow's Sunday. What are you talking about?" He handed him back the keys. "Yeah, you're right, man. Doesn't matter. Take the Jag. Come get me Monday. Just call me tomorrow. If I need the car, I'll let you know. Take her home, man. You can't take her in the van with merch in the back. No good, man. Take her home, man." Spencer shrugged. He looked at his silver tag hair, tag hair, which he'd brought with the previous Friday's night's all-nighter money. 3:30 a.m. He grabbed the keys back. He glanced over at the brunette. "Veronica, let's go. Where did you say you were in the city? East Side?" Spencer woke up to the Sunday morning sunlight coming in through the bedroom window in Veronica's modern apartment on East 73rd Street. He squinted at his watch. 10 o'clock. He went into the bathroom, splashed some water on his face and hair, and tried to fix his wavy mane as best he could. His shaggy brown hair was almost to his shoulders, but he kept it better styled these days. We are reading the Highwayman edition of The Dirt Merchants by Henning Morales. This is Morsels of a Thought, number 1647. I aim to give you a great day with morsels of a thought of wisdom, because knowing the right thing to do is wisdom. Doing it is virtue. So we'll bring more virtue into the world this way. So, Spencer. He went back to the living room and peered through the blinds. It was the first floor unit right on the street, one of those where you walk down a small flight of stairs to get in. There were a few people out, walking leisurely in summer clothes. He noticed the place had surprisingly high ceilings. The kitchen was all black granite, black appliances, black marble floors, and dark cabinets. Very chic, he thought. The living room had a white shag rug with a blood red couch. Modern art with lots of bright colors donned the walls. There were fashion magazines stacked everywhere, those oversized ones from Europe. He scanned the room for a phone. He found a high-end black lacquer Sony and dialed up Jim's number. No answer. He left Veronica a note and quietly let himself out. He walked over to the parking garage and handed his ticket to the attendant. "Oh, the Black Jaguar. Right away, sir." For the first time since working at American Wholesalers in Lodi, New Jersey, Jim Brown, proprietor, something wasn't quite right. Despite the lobster, caviar, Italian clothes, luxury cars, and the models, Spencer felt anxious. He felt that his work was just getting started. This was Jim's success, not his. He wanted to own his own deal. He wanted his own success. He felt that his own success was being delayed. "I'm going to be 19 next February, practically a senior citizen. I better be in my own office by then." Who could he talk to about it? His friends? Not really. Their biggest problem was planning for college. Far as they were concerned, he was living a dream. What did he have to complain about? How could they relate? He couldn't talk to the other guys at the office. Not a chance. No one got this kind of treatment, not even Cuddy. Any one of them would have traded places with him. Besides, Jim didn't want the other guys to know he and Jim were hanging out so much. His parents? Meaningful conversations with parents just didn't happen. No conversation happened with his father for almost a year. He jumped into the Jag and sped off. As he pulled onto the FDR and called Jim again on the car phone, no answer. By the time he got to the George Washington Bridge, he'd tried more times with no luck. Whatever, I'm going home. He pulled the XJS up in front of his house, went up to his room, walls covered with Van Halen, Joan Jett, and Farrah Fawcett with the big white smile and bathing suit. He changed into his sweats and went downstairs to the basement and barged into his little brother's room. After wrestling it out with the 14-year-old for 20 minutes, he checked the machine. Nothing from Jim, only messages from his friends asking where in the hell he'd been all weekend and not to forget the game on Sunday. He went over to Phelps Park where he joined a tackle football game in progress, forgetting about things for the time being. After the game, the boys crowded around the Jag, asking him about Saint's Cafe, the model from the night before, all the cash he was making, and generally making a big fuss of what a success Spencer had become. Chapter 23. Running Things. By Monday morning, Spencer still hadn't heard from Jim, so he got up early and headed over to Jim's place. He had instructed Teddy to go over and pick up the van from Jim's over the weekend and bring it to the office Monday. As he pulled up to the Glen Point condos, he noticed no van in sight. So far, so good. He parked the Jag, walked over and rang the bell, then banged on the door, then rang again. Finally, he let himself in and carefully scanned the living room. The living room was enormous, the size you might find in a large house. The townhouse was professionally decorated with fine items from all over the world. The contemporary furniture in the living room was dark brown and expensive looking. Authentic Italian paintings hung on the walls. Statues were scattered about. The rug was deep shag, almost white. Everything about Jim's things, his car, his clothes, boat, house, even his taste in music, R&B, suggested someone older and more worldly, not some blue-collar 24-year-old kid suddenly managing all this wealth. He walked over to the kitchen. He noticed that there were pizza boxes, frozen food packaging, and Chinese food containers piled up on the tip of the granite counters. On on top of the granite counters is what they mean. One other thing about his place is that it had always been meticulously maintained. He walked over to the stairs. Jim, you up there? It's me. He heard some rumblings, and then Jim lumbered downstairs in a bathrobe. Hitter, what's up, man? Juice, get fired up. I didn't get much sleep last night, not feeling too good. Go ahead in and open up the office. Get the cars loaded up. I'll have Mary drop me off later. Jim's voice was deeper and rougher than usual. Spencer was puzzled and a bit perturbed and responded, I got no suit, Jim. You want me in the office with no suit? Jim walked over the kitchen and poured a cup of coffee from the Krupp's coffee maker, apparently left on from the night before. He said, just get the guys out. You go out in the field. Ride with a rookie. There are no trainee interview appointments coming in, it being Monday. Here are the office keys. Rose will work the phones. Roger that, Jim. See you tonight, Spencer responded, not showing his trepidation. Trepidation is a little bit of fear. What the? In over a year at American Wholesalers, it was the first day that Jim hadn't come into the office to load up. It was the first time that Spencer was alone and charged with that duty. It was the first time that Jim wasn't in the pit meeting. It was the first morning ever that the crew at the Lodi office of American Wholesalers was to take instruction from the 18-year-old without the direct support of the chief executive. What are you, a jamook? No, then just do it. Get your attitude right. Spencer showed up at the office with a confident smirk on his face. Some of the guys were out by the food truck and noticed he was driving Jim's Jag. Sean approached with a cigarette and a styrofoam cup of coffee in his hand and said, What? Did teacher's pet get to take the Jag again? Very funny, Sean. It is 5 till 8. You better be back in that warehouse at 8 sharp. And the rest of you? Spencer looked over at the food truck and waved toward the hungry and thirsty merch movers. Let's get inside. I got a message from Jim. Spencer stuck his head into the pit where Cuddy was in rare form. You guys are always complaining about Mondays. Everyone is broke because they spend all their money over the weekend. Nonsense, Cuddy said, strutting and waving his arms. No excuses. There are lots of people who get paid on Monday. Plus, your motivation is plus your motivation level is greatest on Monday. We don't work on Sundays, so your energy is built up. Those of you that go out on Monday with that but bachagaloop attitude that Mondays suck, you suck. You know why? He paused. Don't answer that. I'll tell you why. It's because it's all in your attitude. Jimbo gives out some of the biggest quotas of the week on Mondays. Do you know why? Some of you know why. Let me hear it. The 22 merch movers shouted, Monday's payday! I can't hear you. In unison, Monday's payday, Monday's payday, Monday's payday, Monday's payday, Monday's payday. Ha, that's better. Now, break off in pairs and role play. Then the objections and responses started. The 22 guys broke off into 11 pair, practicing their comebacks. Goober, I can't afford it. Merch mover, come on, guy, you'll never see it cheaper. Goober, I got no money. Merch mover, how much you got? Let me see. Goober, this stuff stolen? Merch mover, look, guy, I got a wife and kids. I wouldn't get mixed up in nothing shady. Here's my consignment sheet. It's closeouts, man. Liquidation. Goober, I have to check with my wife. Merch mover, guy, you need the tools, not your wife. She gonna fix the car? Goober, come back next week. Merch mover, guy, once the stuff is gone, it's gone. I ain't coming back. What would it take for you to take it now? Goober, I don't need no Taiwan tools. Merch mover, Taiwan on, guy. Those Japs work for fish heads and rice. It's dirt cheap. Goober, knuckle breakers, that's all you got there? Merch mover, you've been negative all your life. Cuddy was walking around to the role players, nodding his head and snapping his fingers. He looked at Spencer in the doorway. He smiled and nodded. Spencer said, Hey, Cuddy, these guys are okay on their own for a while. Meet me in Jim's office. Of course, Hitter, be right in. Although Cuddy was next in line for promotion and 5 years older, he realized that Spencer was Jim's favorite, and for whatever reason, spending a lot of time with Jim off hours, so he was always very good to Spencer. If Cuddy wanted his promotion to go smoothly, he knew he needed Spencer's cooperation, even though Spencer was below him in the pecking order. He had retrained Spencer in the early days, and they always got along. Spencer was a good kid, he always thought. Spencer sat down in Jim's chair and put his feet on the desk, looking at the list of merch movers that showed up that day, trying to match up the cars, the teams, the quotas, card game, etc. Rose was sitting in front of the desk with her notepad and a phone extension that she kept answering, mostly trainee ad calls from the Sunday paper. Good morning, American wholesalers. This is Rose. How can I help you? Cuddy walked in with his sunglasses on his forehead and his 44-inch chest puffed out. What gives? Where's Jim? He has a cold or flu or whatever, I don't know. He's coming later, this afternoon. He asked me to run things this morning, no big deal. Here's my best guess at the teams that are going out today and quotas and whatnot. Take a look. Does this work? He handed the legal pad over to Cuddy. Cuddy grabbed it and took a look. This is pretty good, Spence. Let me work on it, said Cuddy. Then he turned to Rose and said, Rose, I need to talk to Jim. When you get back tonight, Spencer said forcefully, looking Cuddy in the eyes and smiling, no one's gonna bother him now. Rose smiled and nodded at Cuddy. The phone rang and she answered the phone again. Cuddy looked at Spencer and said calmly, Let me work on this. He left Jim's office with the day's strategy and went into the manager's office. Spencer nodded to Rose to head back to her desk. He was alone finally and just stared at the board. Cuddy came back 15 minutes later with the teams and quotas rewritten and handed it to Spencer. What are we gonna do, man? Cuddy asked as Spencer signed off on the teams. What do you mean? I don't know. Maybe it's a test of some kind. We keep saying we're ready to run our own deal. Let's prove it, Spencer answered calmly. Cuddy, can you grab someone out there? Cuddy looked out into the lobby where Teddy was talking with Rose. Cuddy waved him over. Teddy stuck his head in. Hey, go get Sean in here, will you, Hitter? Spencer asked. Teddy saluted. Sean showed up a minute later from the warehouse. Sean had been there for 6 months longer than Spencer, but was stuck in the warehouse and seemingly was happy there. But all the other guys felt some resentment for how fast Spencer had blown by them on the board and how close he and Jim had become. Spencer handed Sean the run sheet, the document that listed all cars going out that day and who was riding with whom. Sean looked it over approvingly and looked up at Spencer. His permanent smile left his face for a moment and he asked, "Hey, where's Jim?" Before Spencer could answer, Cuddy jumped in and said, "Jim's coming in late today. Is there a problem with the run sheet? Something you don't understand?" "No, the run sheet is fine. I was asking because some of the guys have questions for Jim." Do you see that board up there? Do you see whose names are at the top of the board? You've been here long enough, Sean, to know what that means. When Jim's not here, we're running things. Anyone who wants to know anything can come in here and ask. Throw in a new tape on your way out, will you? Put in some Zeppelin. Who put in this patty cake Fleetwood Mac in anyway? The smile came back to Sean's red Irish face. He got the hell out of there. Cuddy sat back down and said calmly, "You know what I mean, man. It's just you and me talking. What's going on with Kenny and Gino, man?" Suddenly, Led Zeppelin's wanton song blared through the speaker system, multiple decibels louder than Tusk, which preceded it. The amused look left Spencer's face, and he answered calmly, "Kenny's deal may or may not be working out. Gino just got started. I'm not going to let that neg me out. Everyone gets a chance. I know Kenny's your boy, but you're not over there. You don't know what he's doing, right or wrong. All you can control is what you do. I know Kenny is a great guy. He is my mentor too, but whatever, man. He doesn't control my future. His office is too close anyway. We should have gone down to Maryland or New Hampshire or wherever. I'm going to do it with or without Kenny or Gino or anyone. I'm in control of my life, man. Don't look at me like I'm a kid, 'cause I'm not. I gave up my entire life for this, high school and college and all. You know my father is still not talking to me. You know that, Cuddy." Spencer sensed he was sounding a bit defensive, but had been taught to speak his mind, especially to guys higher up in the company, to defend his position. In high school, I was with a gorgeous blonde hitter with a tight little body who was in love with me. I was the man. And you know what happened? 100 hours a week working here, and she went off and got with some older dude. What do I, what do I care? Now I got models and college chicks, whatever. But what do I really have? All I got is the 6 G's I have saved up for my office. It doesn't matter what these other guys are doing. I'm gonna make it, man. I'm gonna run my own deal. Do you understand me, Jim? Do you understand me? Jim wants it this way. Who am I to challenge what Jim wants? It's his deal. He's the one with the boat, the condo, and the trips with Banda and the other owners to Puerto Rico, Vegas, and the Bahamas and AC. This is his company. He has what we want. Who are we to challenge that? Let's get out of here. Cuddy shrugged and smiled. The two leaders left Jim's office and headed into the pit where Teddy was preaching. The merch movers were so into the speech that they didn't realize Jim wasn't there. At 10:30, Spencer jumped into the van with some flea who needed to be retrained, but would definitely not make it in the biz. He closed 30 sales, excellent for a Monday, and headed back to the office, trying to put his finger on the issue. When they got back to the office, Jim and Rose were there, settling everyone up as usual. When Spencer finished settling up, he headed into Jim's office and hung around long enough for an explanation or recognition or a pat on the back. Jim greeted everyone as they got back as usual, joking around, laughing, smoking, busting chops. After half an hour, it was obvious that no explanation was forthcoming. Finally, Spencer left and went home like any day of the week. When he got home that night, his sister was in the kitchen drinking a Shasta and reading some NYU textbook. Maybe she saw something in his face. "You good, bro?" He grabbed some Cheerios and milk and started in on them. "No, I'm not good. I'm great. I'm great now and destined for greatness forever." He pranced around imitating Mick Jagger. She frowned, rolled her eyes, and went back to her studying. So we will come back to this book next Sunday, and there will be chapter 24, Friends with Benefits, Friday, August 3rd. Hmm. So we will talk to you again later. You take care. I hope you have a great day. Remember that morsels of a thought of wisdom can bring you ideas on some things good to do. And when you do good things, you've got virtue. Okay? Old Kid Hook.